If you find our video helpful, consider subscribing or sharing with your friends. And a click of the like button is always appreciated. I'm Denton Bramwell with Promontory Management Group, and I'm here to show you 8 very useful things you can learn by applying one simple chart, the Individuals and Moving Range chart. The Individuals and Moving Range chart consists of 2 charts. The upper chart is the individual data. The lower chart is the moving range. So this is my first observation, this is my second observation, and then this first point here is the distance between my first two, between 2 and 3, between 3 and 4, and so on. The center line shows the average of the process, and the limits here show what are the limits of normal behavior. In fact, we use 4 different rules to help us decide if the process is stable and predictable, and if a point violates any of these 4 rules, you'll see a little red number hanging by it. Number 1, an I and MR chart will tell you if your process needs attention. In this chart, we have multiple rule violations, violating Rule 1, Rule 4, Rule 3, Rule 1 again, and Rule 1 here and here. So we would conclude immediately that this process needs some attention from us. It's not running stably and predictably. Number 2, it will let you compare the process before and after a change. This is some actual customer data, and the issue was that they were filling containers with product and they were putting more in than the customer was paying for. Here we have split the chart using this button right here, and we can see that before the changes the process was highly variable and the mean was high. After the changes, it appears to be much less variable and the mean is lower, and we're still meeting our specification of giving the customer what he paid for. Third, it will help you check the assumptions for tests like ANOVA and the T test. Usually the most important assumption for analysis of variance or a T test is that the data are homogeneous. And we check that with an I and MR chart, or at least the individuals portion. And if we see very many points out of limit, that gives us a little bit of concern that we may not have met this assumption. Number 4, it will help you find the root cause of shifts and changes in your process. If you're looking for the root cause of why your process varies, it's very wise to concentrate your search in the region near these great shifts and ask what was going on just then. Number 5, an I and MR chart can tell you if it's really time to adjust your process or not. When a process is running like this and we get a low point, the temptation is to adjust the machine, to adjust that up. That's bad practice. That's not sufficient evidence to change the machine, and it will result in greater variation. So how do you know if it's time to adjust the machine? Well, simple. You put your target in down here. That forces the center line to be the target. And if I've got 12 or 15 data here with no rule violations, then I'll leave the process alone. On the other hand, if I get rule violations like this, I know it's time to adjust. Number 6, an I and MR chart will help you set reasonable specification limits. For a stable and predictable process, practically all of your data will fall between the upper and lower natural process limit. If your specification limits are set in here somewhere, you're going to have a very hard time making good product. Ideally, you would like your spec limits to be 1.5 times as far apart as your natural process limits. Number 7, It will help you evaluate your measurement system. To test your measurement system, have one person with one measurement tool measure the same standard over and over again, giving yourself time between the measurements. Get some measurements early in the day, late in the day, gather maybe 1 or 2 or 3 points a day until you have about 20 data points. At this point, the only source of variation in the chart is the random error in the measurement system. And from the spacing of the natural process limits, you can deduce how much that random error is. And from the position of the center line, you can tell if the item needs calibration. And number 8, it will help you determine whether or not there's a trend in your data. When you have data like this, a fair interpretation is that these data and these data and these data are different, which might lead you to think we have a trend. But it's easier to just check this box and slope the line and look at a p-value here. If this number is below 0.05, we generally believe that the slope is real, not just our lucky day. So there you are, 8 very useful things that you can do with one simple chart. Thanks for watching.